2 minutes into this episode.
Can you imagine getting stuck with a cutie mark you didn't like?
I'm so happy right now. It's like I just talked about this or something. What felt like an hour later. Whew. Did anyone else feel like they needed to recover from this episode? I'll be upfront. The Cutie Mark Crusaders have never been my favorites. I've never disliked them, but the episodes when they're all together have just never been one of my favorites. I've tended to enjoy them better in their individual character episodes, as they all have intriguing personal hurdles. And as children, they're a jumping point to explore one of the more interesting aspects of the MLP universe in the puberty allegory that is the Cutie Marks. And boy, do we love to speculate about cutie marks, how they work, what they mean, what their exact effect on the pony is. And I'm no different, as you can see by my cutie map review. And this episode doesn't really tell us anything we basically didn't already know or guess, but it did voice a lot of the questions bronies have been wondering about cutie marks since the beginning of time. I just think there's an innate pleasure for any episode that makes us think the writers have been reading our fanfics! In this episode, the CMC find out that Babs Seed has gotten her cutie mark as a hairstylist. And now, a moment of silence for all those fallen headcanons. I'm a little disappointed we didn't get to see that happen in real time. I mean, they just put it in a letter like they were trying to get it over with. And when they comprehend that means she isn't really a Cutie Mark Crusader anymore, Apple Bloom starts panicking about all the uncertain questions about what will happen after they get their cutie marks. I don't really see why Babs can't stay in the Cutie Mark Crusaders as a mentor, unless she's too busy. Wait a minute, she's an Earth Pony. How is she gonna use scissors with her mouth? That's dangerous. But after going to bed with an adorable lullaby from Applejack, she wakes up the next morning with a cutie mark in pest control. Yeah, I don't think this fooled anybody. Not just because she gets a talent in something she's never tried before, though that's apparently fair game in the Korra universe. Wow, Bolin got his cutie mark for lava bending! Suddenly! But for as straight as they play it, no one believed they would actually make that Apple Bloom's cutie mark. Though Apple Bloom doesn't seem to mind at first, catching the next MLP creature to be turned into a metaphor in the brony community and whatever Twitter jokes anyone wants to make, until the worst things ever come over and mock her for it. Ugh, MLP, can you just make an episode already that says if they're not your friends and you don't even like them, who cares what they think? Causing her to run into the Everfree Forest and...
If your cutie mark bothers you so much, get rid of it.
Wow, I was gonna call it already as both episodes address the subjects of being personally conflicted with your cutie marks. But this episode really is a spiritual cousin to the cutie map. There's another Story of the Blanks reference! Also, be honest, did anyone else think that that could have been Starlight Glimmer? I mean, yeah, I know that wouldn't have made any sense, cause it was a dream, and Apple Bloom's never met her, but hey, that girl has cutie mark magic. Who knows what else she can do? But right after she loses the cutie mark, oh no, an infestation! Nice subtle message relaying that every job in a community is important, even the unromantic jobs. But oh, it was just a dream, except that wait, it's another nightmare, and another one, and another one! It's a Cutie Mark Nightmare Anthology, and I think it's fantastic. Now, I know that there can be some issues with nightmare episodes. Nightmares by themselves in cartoons without all the artistic flair are just depicting the worst things that can possibly happen, no matter how little sense they make to happen. Which can be fun in increments. But when it's the whole episode, it can be daunting and certainly repetitive. Boy, that image of Applejack in the kitchen got creepy after a while. And in this case, we also know exactly what we're going to see because Apple Bloom spells it out for us in the first 3 minutes. And yet, I found this episode incredibly engaging. And I think that's rooted in the way each dream starts out seeming real, like it's exactly how everyone would act. Even though I knew it was a dream, the first time Apple Bloom thinks she has her cutie mark is such a genuinely joyful moment that it made me smile. And I thought the pest pony was awesome. Tell me someone is not going to their next steampunk meet dressed like this. Twitter mites are now my favorite equestrian insect, except Apple Bloom's never heard of them until now, and because it's a dream, they might not exist at all. Damn it, that's the other problem with dream episodes. And the way it gradually got more and more twisted and more we wanted to know what the hell was up with that shadow! And the way the dreams just kept coming and coming every time she thought it was over. And the scenarios kept getting worse and worse, and the world logic eventually just dissolves and the tension just keeps building. It really gives the sensation of a nightmare that just never ends. It felt like a journey. I was physically exhausted watching this. I mean, so much happened in this episode. I was shocked it was only a half hour. Now, it's not as visually creative as When the Sweetie Belle Tolls, but I think it's because it was supposed to feel more real. And they make up for it in other ways.
We don't have room for non-apples.
Nope. Not to mention, go back to your fireplace, demon! Until finally, Luna shows up, and suddenly it's all so clear why everything seems so over the top. It's the finale of the Luna and the CMC trilogy! And the second one to make a paleo reference. Wow, she really likes to let them stew for a bit in fear before she assures them that none of this is real. Then again, how will they learn? And it is completed with an incredibly touching conclusion with all of them in their dream state, where we see the greatest judge table in history. Vinyl and Octavia have never been next to each other before. How are you not watching our stuff? And aw, Scootaloo gets to fly. That was actually a little heartbreaking. And wow, even the conclusion seems to take a while to get to the end. Still, those dreams seem to imply that Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo already know what they want to do, so what gives? And at least now they say it clearly. Cutie Mark is nothing more than a reflection of your true self. So chances are this can't happen. In fact, if we go by what we observed in the Cutie Mark Chronicles, getting your mark seems to be accompanied by a conscious personal epiphany about who you are and what you want to do. Like, supposedly, you can't want to be a Gryffindor and end up in Slytherin. You have to accept and embrace the fact that you're a Slytherin before you can get your Slytherin Cutie Mark. Which seems to be an awful lot of self-awareness and maturity to ask of a preteen. And heck, at that age, is your Cutie Mark even a skill? Or is it just something that makes you happy? Heck, Rarity's Cutie Mark technically isn't even dressmaking, it's gems. Or is that some sort of specific design aesthetic? Though there was something biological going on with Rarity when the porn did that was a weird case. And there's still the question on whether or not a cutie mark can change over time. After all, people change and talents change. I can see ponies getting discouraged with competition with other ponies with similar cutie marks, or over time bored with doing the same thing every day. Which I acknowledge is kind of a first world problem. But say, what if someone had a cutie mark in running and then got their leg amputated? What would happen then? But you know what the thing is? These are old people problems, and this show is for young people. Yeah, I get it. We've speculated enough for today. Though when I think about it, this episode does not have a crystal clear, relatable lesson. It's the girls dealing with very specific Equestria puberty issues. But there's still metaphors for typical fears about the future. What if you end up at a job you don't like? Through different interests and directions, friends can grow apart. Some friends grow up faster than others. Will their new interests and lifestyle be accepted by their family? And as a teenager, most of the things that give you the most anguish is doubts about who you are and what you want to do. I greatly applaud this episode. So far, Josh Haber's episodes seem to really work for me. I wouldn't call this episode my favorite of all time or anything, but I was just genuinely surprised and satisfied with what this episode gave me. Next time, yay, it's about Tank! Put in a decent Discord episode and this just might be my favorite season. Yes! Happy birthday to me! Literally! Yeah, seriously, how is Discord gonna work now that he's officially reformed? He better still be funny. Anyway, comment, like, subscribe, etc., and you stay shiny, Animaniacs!
Now, little sister, you're loved by all you know. You'll never lose their friendship, no matter where you go. There ain't no call to worry, so don't you cry or fret. A cutie mark won't change you, no matter what you get.